Welcome to episode 3 of the Amplified Marriage Podcast. Today we're talking about the power of the tongue. Words don't have the power to hurt you unless the person who said it means a lot to you.
Welcome to another episode of Amplified Marriage. My name's Natalie.
My name is Brian. Thank you so much for joining us. Wherever you are, grab a coffee, sit down, have a seat. We are going to be having a conversation today about the power of words.
Yeah.
Sticks and stones may break your bones, but these 5 phrases will definitely hurt you.
That's right.
Something that we have learned in our marriage, the things and the power and the destruction that words can just kind of have on your marriage if you're not careful with what you're saying. And so here's 5 different types of words that we think that phrases.
And that we've said.
That we've definitely said and may have said as early as last week. So we are going to be going, or a couple hours ago. So just join us for this conversation. The very first one we want to talk about is always and never. Mm-hmm. Never, ever use always or never. Does that even make sense?
It does. It does. And it's so true. These 2 words in particular, are, I think, what I used
for everything that I did wrong.
Yeah, pretty much.
You would always tell me, like, you never, ever take out the garbage. And I would literally have been coming down the stairs sometimes holding an empty garbage bag and be like, I got the garbage out. And you're like, but you never do it.
Yeah. And once or twice, missing sort of like the garbage or whatever doesn't equate to an always or a never.
Well, yeah, and always or never. Never means you have never ever touched something and you've never actually physically done it. And always means you always do that.
That's right. And then it always points back to an unmet expectation.
Absolutely.
So we'll use the garbage as an example. If I never say to you, or I haven't vocalized, hey, I would really appreciate if you would take out the garbage. I don't want to have to do it. So could you? If I've never asked you that, then you don't know that that's an expectation.
Absolutely.
Right? So then I'd throw something like that in your face. And like, there's no way that you could, there's no way you can come out of that.
No. And the thing about always and never statements is they're generally used or almost always used in an accusatory or argumentative manner. You're not using it in a, hey, you always love me, and these are just nice things.
No.
You never say mean things. You're like, no, you always don't love me, and you never say the right words kind of attitude, right?
Yeah.
And so you end up breaking down the communication because you're being so defensive, and you're always defending your position, and you're never listening to what the other person is saying.
That's right.
I think we said it in the last podcast, or one of the last couples, is that people and in marriage, couples are oftentimes listening with the intent to answer, not to really hear.
That's right.
And an always and a never statement is definitely one of those things that is you're listening to answer, not to actually hear what the other person is saying.
That's right. And I think, if we're going to give other examples, you never spend time with me. I think that we've thrown that out. Well, I've thrown that out multiple times over the 19 years. Can we just say that we just celebrated our 19th wedding anniversary on Tuesday? It was fabulous.
And somehow we've never spent time with each other in those 19 years.
Yes. Okay. Maybe early on. That was one of the classic, my needs weren't being met. And that was the sort of like a manipulative way of communicating with you in hopes that by my saying like you never, you always would get you to change that behavior somehow.
My personality does not roll that way. The more you try and control me with language or even with action, sometimes I just rebel, and that did not bode well. I didn't handle those times very well. Like,
no.
As soon as you said those things, I would rise up and just be angry and frustrated, and I would never make that any easier.
Yeah.
And so we've learned how to overcome those things. And it's not that we don't say them. They still come up. Things, you just say things sometimes in the heat of the moment where you're frustrated and you're angry and you say things like always or never. It's going to be a thing, but you really want to work hard to move your language and take those words out of that language. And what's the next one, Nat? This is your favorite.
Calm down.
I have...
Oh, this just makes me want to punch. So this is something that Brian has said to me multiple times over 19 years.
Thousands of times.
It just makes me want to punch him in the nose when he says that, because nothing makes me want to calm down more than being told to calm down.
What? You don't like it when I tell you to calm down when you're having a moment?
Right. So, so our oldest is 15. And when he was little, I don't know, overreacting about something, I'm sure. And he must have been, I don't know, 4.5, 5 years old. And he came and he put his hand on my arm, and he said, "Mom, chill." And he had his little hands up, like, "Relax, it's okay." And I looked at him, being the adult in that situation, and just started laughing. And it was what it took to kind of break the tension of however I was feeling, probably overwhelmed. We had 3 kids at that time.
In that one moment.
Yeah.
I feel like I was a real slow learner with this one, because I'm intense. I'm kind of an intense dude.
Yeah. And one of our podcasts will be about our Enneagram types, which for all of you, if you don't know what an Enneagram is, we'll explain that to you. But look it up, because it's real and it's helped us 19 years in. I wish we would have known our personality types prior to. Absolutely.
But I'm a pretty intense guy,
yeah,
but I'm also not one to just freak out and get really excitable like Natalie. Natalie is very up when something's good. When she feels like it's been no justice or something like that, she goes up, or she lost her keys, and there's this moments where I've not handled the whole calm down. And what happens with the calm down is when you say that, you're not making that any better. You're not chill, calm down, take a chill pill, whatever you want to say. You're not helping that at all. And the problem with that phrase is that it actually leaves your partner feeling like unheard and completely put down, because you're not actually taking the minute to think about their feelings in that moment. Calm down is about you, because you're annoyed about how they're responding to the situation, not really about what's going on with them.
That's right.
Right? Does that make sense?
It is. And I think too, it's helped us over the years for me to communicate, hey, in this particular moment, I am venting. I am not wanting you to fix.
To explain it, though, to
whatever,
be like, hey.
Yeah, to get that to that place where I can let you know, if you tell me to calm down, somebody's going to get hurt.
Someone's going to get hurt real bad.
It's not going to be me.
Well, and we have learned that now. And she's learned to tell me through the time that we've had to discuss our expectations about telling me, I need you to listen, or I need you to fix it. Because honestly, men are always first task oriented. We're going to be going to fix the situation. And so she's learned now that she's having a tough day. Something happened at work, or something happened with one of the kids, and she needs me to listen, not to respond and try and, hey, here's 5 solutions in order to fix this, but just hear.
That's right. And you've over the years, way better at saying, how can I help you in this moment, right? That might be your saving grace, is just saying, how can I help? Because you're not dismissing their feelings. You are coming to kind of be the helper without the fixer.
Yeah. And you need to be, sometimes I need to be the fixer, and sometimes I need to be the helper. I need to be the listener, and not just automatically assume. And
just acknowledging, hey, I can see that you are really upset.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not about, it might get to that point where we get to a place of being able to calm down. But in that initial moment, if your first response to me, if I'm all riled up, is calm down, it just escalates.
Yeah. One of the ones that is actually just kind of a force of habit sometimes in this busy world that we live in is I'm busy. I'm busy.
Right.
When you're sitting on your phone playing Best Fiends, I'm busy doesn't count as being busy.
I play Best Fiends, so what are you saying here?
I'm not saying anything. We've talked about Best Fiends many times. Or when I'm playing video games, or I'm watching YouTube, or there's things that if I have to work, I'm generally just saying, hey, look, I got to spend a few minutes doing an email. I just need like half an hour of quiet. Please just give me that. But if I'm just sitting on the couch watching YouTube, there's really nothing on YouTube or social media or Instagram or Facebook that is so overly engrossing that you dismiss your spouse with the words, I'm busy.
That's right.
If you're too busy for your spouse, you're too busy. And we believe that the priority in the relationship is each other. They were here before kids, and so your priority is still over your children is each other and
That's
making
right.
time for that. And
I think it's important to speak that
and
to
say
that. Like, hey, I have this that I have to, I know it seems like, I might be ignoring you. I'm not. I just have this deadline that I need to work on, and whatever the situation might be. Articulating what you're doing, I think, goes a long way so that it's not just sloughing your partner off.
And in that situation, when you are articulating your point, tone definitely matters.
Yes, for sure.
Communication, there's communication in your tone, your body language, your eyes, your face, your mouth, all of it. Tone really matters in that moment.
Right. And if your default setting is always, I'm busy, right? How, our default setting could be always no. Just anyone asks you something is no. In this particular case, if your answer is always, I'm busy, I think it's time to evaluate. Are you really busy? Are you just trying to tune out? Are you trying to escape because you're coping with, job loss or whatever, right? Like
things that are going on.
Yeah, just owning what's actually going on.
Again, and we talked about it even just a couple of seconds ago. It's about articulating your point. I need to focus on this, and it's about communication and letting your spouse know what that expectation is. Mm-hmm. Here's the word that every parent with a teenager or has watched any kind of television show that immediately wants to do the Homer Simpson choke on their child when they hear these words. And it's even as dangerous to use this word with your spouse. And it's
That's
like,
right.
Whatever.
And what follows that is, I'm fine.
Whenever your wife says, I'm fine, 99.9999% of the time, she's not fine.
That's right.
Yeah, that's some old man wisdom for you that are listening, that are younger and have been married for just a little while. If your wife says they're fine, they are probably not fine. And you're going to want to maybe just pay attention to some signs that are going on around you.
That's
How many
right.
times have you ended an argument, Natalie, with whatever?
Too many to count. And it sounds so juvenile, but there are times where if I feel like you've come at me kind
Hard.
of, like a bull in a china shop,
Which is sometimes my default.
then my response typically is something like whatever, because I haven't had time to process
That's right.
what you've done. Doesn't make it right.
No, but also in those moments, me coming like a bull in a china shop wasn't right either.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to own up to who you are and the things that you do. And I heard this when I was doing some research today. Whatever is the enemy of reconciliation. The immediate response of almost anyone when you hear your child say it, oh, whatever, Mom, you just want to
Smack them.
yes, you want to move forward in the said discipline or discussion that you need to have next.
Yeah.
But whatever is the enemy of reconciliation. As soon as you say that in your marriage, in the way that we're talking about, when you say it like that, they immediately shut down no matter what side of the party that says it.
That's right. And it's so dismissive
of,
and I think sometimes, in the past, I have said it in order to not have that conversation continue.
Right.
Right.
And you just wanted it to end and you're hoping that I'm going to leave it alone, but I'm not a leave it aloner.
No.
We're going to fix this now, which is another conversation that we're going to get to. But when you use these things, the scripture, 1 Corinthians 13 comes to mind. Love never quits. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not easily angered and always perseveres. Whatever is the enemy of that reconciliation when you have that kind of issue.
That's right.
So it's not a bad word, but it's a bad word when you're using it in this particular context.
That's right.
And here's one that we discussed and have used, or Natalie has used. I think you...
Yeah, because not so much now, this many years in, but definitely within the first first 7 years of marriage, I would throw this next phrase out like
Every argument?
whenever I
Every
had a
argument.
chance. Yeah.
Oh, it made me so mad. And the phrase is, "You're just like your dad."
Oh.
And here's the thing: is that my dad has some really great qualities. She wasn't picking on those ones when she was saying, she's like, "Oh man, you're really good with people, and you just love to help and work with your hands." She wasn't saying those good things about my dad. She was picking the things that me and my dad have struggled with just communication or being bullheaded. We're both stubborn. She'd pick on those things, and it was never about, the good qualities that Dad had. Like, I'm stubborn and bullheaded. I still am stubborn and bullheaded. I have 19 years of marriage to be able to temper that a little bit.
Right.
But when she said that, it was instant whatever. And
it was instant rage.
It was instant rage. And then I was upset, and she was having to tell me to calm down, and that happened. So all the things that we just went through with, "You always are like your dad," she went from there to, I had to calm down, and then I went into whatever, and then I wanted to talk to me. She's like, "I'm busy," because I wanted to do anything else but deal with the situation.
That's right. And I felt like at that point, my feelings were being hurt constantly, and my needs were being unmet. And so I just wanted to hurt you back.
You were
and I knew what to use to hurt you back with my words.
And your words were so sharp.
Yeah.
That, and I don't think I had that thick of a skin anyway. I think my self-esteem was probably low. It was low. I didn't think very much of myself, highly of myself. I wasn't being the man of the house. At that point, we were just fighting. And so whatever you could throw onto the flame,
I did.
You did, and I took it to heart. And we had to deal with these wounds way later in the relationship, and patch those things up.
And I didn't care at that time that I'd hurt your feelings, because my feelings were hurt, right? And so I think one of the things that you'll hear us talk about a lot is being accountable. I am accountable for everything that comes out of my mouth, like towards you, towards others. I'm accountable for that. I need to own it. And it wasn't until several years down the road before it finally, I realized sort of the effect that, like, I know I have a venomous tongue, and I know that my tongue can be a double-edged sword, and I know in one breath I can build you up, and in the next breath I can tear you down, right?
Yeah.
So just being aware with your words and what it is that you are using against your spouse with your words.
Yeah. And one of the ones that's kind of wrapped up like in this particular phrase, "You're just like your parents," is the other side of that, which is, "I wish you were more like person X. Right. I wish you were more like Greg," or "I wish you were more like Jeremy," or "I wish you were more like, Chris, my boss at the time," or "I wish you were more like," and I was being compared sometimes to, and you didn't do it very often, but those times I'd be like, "What's wrong with what I'm doing?" Not realizing I was just a horrible husband.
Or like someone else's husband. I remember one year, our first wedding anniversary, and my brother and sister-in-law got married 3 weeks before us. And so for their first wedding anniversary, it was just lavish gifts and this, that, and the other. And I don't even think I got a card from you.
Yeah, I was not good at being married.
Our first anniversary. And it was devastating. And part of me was like, why can't you be more like that? Or we'd watch those romantic comedy movies.
Stupid rom-coms.
Where, of course, everything they put out there is how it's supposed to be. And it just really bothered me that you weren't like those actors, right, in the movies. It just really, it kind of reminded me, it was like an in-your-face of what
you would say it sometimes.
You could have.
Yeah.
Or what I could have, but I really don't.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was being compared. And the truth is no one likes being compared to somebody else.
No.
It doesn't matter if it's Brad Pitt or Matthew McConaughey or one of the guys, Freddie Prinze Jr. I'm old.
Chris Hemsworth. Like, let's get real
right.
here.
Like, I don't want to be compared to Chris Hemsworth. Like I think he's even a couple years younger than I am, but he's Thor, and I'm just a 41-year-old white dude from Canada. Right? Like, it's not the same. I don't want to be compared to that. No one does. Natalie
Yeah.
doesn't want to be compared to famous movie stars.
No.
And we would never do that. And she didn't often say it, but comparison really breaks the heart because then you feel like you're not enough. And the real truth is that my wife isn't a thing. I'm not going to compare her like I'm buying a new car. Like I want to look at the RAV4 versus what the Honda has to offer versus Toyota. She's not that. I'm not going to trade her in for a different model. We got married for life. It's 19 years. But comparison, if that is your mindset and your heart set, that will crush the relationship, especially if you're just thinking it and you haven't vocalized yet. It's just a matter of time before you actually say those things out loud.
That's right.
Because out of the heart, the mouth will start to speak.
Yeah.
And what's in that heart, if it's venom and comparison, that's what's going to come out. And your spouse is really, or your partner.
Yeah.
If you're in early dating or just early engaged, man, be careful with the comparison game, because who God has for you or who you're dating now, and if that's who you're going to get married to, that's who you've chosen.
That's right. You got to remember too, from our last podcast when we were talking about being totally alone and not having a support system, there was no one to kind of bounce our thoughts off of. We had like no accountability anywhere. Right. And so it was just, you were my target. And it's not like I could phone someone and be like, hey, like, unload what's really going on, and then have that person be like, I think you need to take it down a notch, or right, maybe you should come at it from a different angle. There was nobody, and so just whatever I thought came out.
Yeah.
And it really was devastating.
Absolutely. And so let's just do a quick recap. The number one vocabulary, just to slowly work out of your vocabulary, comparing yourself and the words that you use to your spouse, always and never. Try and take those out of there. Say you really need their help, that you're struggling with, or when I hear you say those words, again, it comes back to unmet expectations. You need to clearly articulate your expectations within the relationship.
That's right. And don't be afraid to say, well, hold up now. When you, and fill in the blank, I feel this way.
Yep.
Instead of saying, you always make me feel this way. Right? That's not the right way to go about it. Number
2 is calm down. Try not to say calm down to your spouse or your partner, your relationship.
In the heat of the moment.
You may want to be able to have the relationship, you can say it later, but in the heat of the moment, that may not be the most valid or important or wise thing to do in that moment, because it may just be crushing in that moment. And you can say things like, hey, I can help you with this. Or can we just take a breath and just slow things down a little bit, and just say it from your point of view. Hey, let's just take a break.
Yeah. Or just validating the feeling.
Absolutely.
I can see that you are upset. What can I do to help?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm busy.
Are you?
How's Best Fiends treating you?
Right.
Are you really busy? I'm
a great tuner-outer.
Oh, I tune out real well.
Yeah.
I got the man ears going on here. I got that I'm in my nothing box.
Right.
But the I'm busy thing is, it shows your partner that you're not your spouse, you're not invested, and that what they're doing is more important in the moment than what's actually happening with them. Right. The other word that we want to take out is
whatever.
All I hear is surf dudes every time I hear that. It's not a bad word. It's just a bad word when used in the context, because it just it explains or stops the conversation, it stops the argument, and you invalidate everything that's happening with your spouse.
And you just dismiss it. And if you can recognize that you're doing that, that's like the first step, I think, in just acknowledging, hey, like, why is it that I always deflect?
Absolutely. And the last one is, it's kind of a 2 for 1. I wish you were more like, insert compared person in to make yourself, to make your spouse look bad, or you're just like your whoever happens to be the one in the relationship that you're trying to poke.
That's right.
Poke the buttons at.
Right? Like, I'm to be your biggest cheerleader, and you're to be my biggest cheerleader.
Absolutely.
Right? And so the words that come out of our mouths should really support that.
Absolutely. So those are the 5 things. I'm sure I have 20 that we could probably talk about. But we're just going to stick with those for now. And just remember this, everyone. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not easily angered,
That's
even
right.
though your spouse knows the exact thing
To make you mad.
to make you mad, and love always perseveres. And so thank you so much for joining us once again for the Amplified Marriage Podcast. We're so glad that you could be here with us. If, in fact, you have an idea or a thought, or you want us to talk about a particular thing, questions, please send an email to amplifiedmarriage@gmail.com. We would love to have some engagement with you.
Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.